Welcome back, college baseball fans, especially ACC fans. I'm joined by the wonderful and handsome Micah, who is back from his couple of super regionals that he got to go experience. Micah, how are you doing today on this Monday? We still have one super to go, right?
Yeah, we do have one super to go. Monty, I was great until about an hour or two ago, man. I got some really mean DMs about the whole video about the famous super regional third out ball. So kind of killed my vibe a little bit, but I mean other than that, we're not too bad.
That is interesting. That would kill my vibe as well. I think that's a very nice thing that you've offered to make sure that ball gets back to the University of North Carolina, which is going to happen. They're getting the ball back. You've gotten in touch with somebody,
hmm And
and
I'm
you're going to
gonna
make
be
that
putting it in a nice little Ziploc bag soon to make sure it's very safe and secure. I've basically not let it leave my sight since I've gotten it because I want to make sure it gets to them, but I guess all I am is a clout chaser asking for. My favorite one was someone called me the Zach Hampel of college baseball, and I kind of laughed at that because that is kind of funny. Like it's a solid chirp, but like at the same time, like I didn't ask for anything, nor am I expecting anything. So, but anyways, that's
and you
besides the
didn't you
point.
didn't take it from a kid. Like this was you were on the field
No,
with media. There were no kids. Like
yeah, and
it's
I can go into the backstory of why I took it, but when it sat there for as long as it did, the last thing I wanted to do was that ball to disappear, and I wanted to make sure it got to them. So should I have left the ballpark with it? Maybe not, but I'm sorry. At 1 a.m. I wasn't, or 12:30, whatever time it was that post game press conferences ended, that I
there's a
wasn't thinking about who should I hunt down to give this to.
yeah,
So
there's
I
a lot going
apologize.
on. Micah's trying to figure out how he's getting to Clemson the next day, getting enough sleep to get to Clemson the next day. Whether there's going to be a show that night because is Monty even awake? And I was
Yeah,
not.
true. You were not.
So so
Confirmed.
so there's a lot going on for Micah at the end of that game that ended late in the night. But hey, the good news is we do have three confirmed ACC teams going to Omaha after a pretty impressive Saturday for those three teams.
Yeah, Saturday was great. I mean, that was. I mean,
Teams went 4-1 because NC State whooped up on Georgia that day. Clemson
mhm.
unfortunately lost, but yeah, Saturday was great.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously tonight, Monty. I hate how much I care about tonight's game because it just I if NC State can pull it off, that'll be so good for the brand of the ACC. Like, I mean, just to be able to have the same amount as the SEC to like, it's the last thing I think anybody wants. I know everyone's already upset for the most part. Grand scheme, I'll even say I'm a little bummed, right, that it's going to be the ACC SEC Invitational. I wish there was a Oregon State or a UC Irvine or a Oklahoma State. It's just something besides ACC SEC because Monty, every team that's made the tournament, or excuse me, making the um College World Series this year, I have seen minus Tennessee this year. So it's kind of frustrating because no matter what, Georgia and NC State, I've seen both of.
When did you see Texas A&M?
Oh no, you're right. That's what I meant. Flip them. Sorry, geez. I've seen Tennessee against ETSU. I did not see Tech. I don't know why.
That's
Yeah,
right. You're right. I
you're
was just
right.
like, man, when did you manage that? I was about
No,
to be
yeah,
real
A&M
impressed.
was the one. Sorry, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. But I obviously saw Florida this weekend, but also even in the
Yep.
regular season a couple
Yep.
times. So it would have been nice to see somebody new, but I think the worst case scenario is an entire side of the bracket SEC. I would even I would even said honestly, Monty, if it was an entire side ACC, it would kind of stunk. To be honest with you, just because that's what Charlotte and Hoover exist for. It is funny that people were joking like, why not SunTrust Park for this year's College World Series? But it yeah
It's
it's
not good.
frustrating, I
It's
guess.
not good for the sport as a whole. I mean, for the
No.
ACC, this is great for us if we get four teams in there. But obviously, having it be the just two conferences, there's 330 baseball programs and
Mhm.
31 conferences, and we've only got two that are going to be at the pinnacle.
Yeah, and the fact that like there was the last two determining super regionals, right? The last two I guess technically, well, no, three. Basically, all of them was either SEC, Pac-12, ACC. That was it. Obviously, because if Clemson beats Florida and there's a game today, then we still have an ACC SEC conversation. Oregon State and Oregon could have entered for the Pac-12, but I mean, there's just not a lot of parity, which obviously, again, last year at least we had Oral Roberts. The year before, and Stanford. Stanford was doing multiple
Stanford
runs there.
went to the fourth straight last year.
Yeah. So
by the way, I have an official time of death I saw on Twitter last night of the Pac-12, 12:33 Eastern Standard Time, June 10th. The Pac-12 is done.
That does suck.
Yep. So we officially are welcoming Cal and Stanford onto our. As you know, right now we're talking super regionals, but and College World Series. But I'm going to transition. Micah's hopefully going to take a little bit of a break before they get started with football. But I'll be covering ACC related college summer leagues, and I'm going to be including Cal and Stanford in those, and Team USA stuff like that, and the portal. So just keep an eye out for that, because it's just, remember, Stanford and Cal are going to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But Monty, I guess let's you want to preview tonight first, as that's more time pressing. I know some NC State folks are tuning in. I think I saw Justin said he was going to be tuning in. So Justin, if you are listening / watching, thank you. But let's get into it. Has NC State announced the starter yet? I mean, it sounds like it's Whitaker, but is that like a formally announced yet, Monty?
I'll double check. I didn't have a chance to, so I have access to the press conference stuff, but I haven't looked because I've been busy today. But because it may have been mentioned yesterday, I by Avent or something, but I haven't necessarily seen anything on Twitter.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on Twitter. I'm on Twitter right now, and there's nothing formal there. I could go to the live stats and probably see if they've loaded it in yet. But I mean, we're still 2 hours from first pitch, so I doubt it's in live stats either. But obviously, if they're trotting out Logan Whitaker, I can't remember who did Georgia. I thought Georgia announced a starter too.
Well, we know it won't be Leighton Finley.
No, definitely will not be him.
Which I thought he was normally their Friday night guy, so I had thought he had pitched. I obviously didn't watch enough of the 18-1 game, because I had assumed up until watching him yesterday, I was like, when they announced him as the starter, I was like, oh crap, I guess he didn't pitch in the Friday game, or the Saturday game, excuse me.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't see even Friday starters doesn't. I mean, granted, it's a one-time thing, but they don't even have anybody listed on their end that I can find.
Yeah, you must have seen a beat writer or something.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know too many of those.
Yeah. But I mean, the NC State thing, you've got to feel pretty good about their chances with who they have rested. If you go Whitaker, they have not used Derek Smith, Cooper Consiglio, or Jacob Duden.
Yeah, and we've seen a pretty solid trend, right? When these teams get blown out the night before, they're the ones that come back and get it done. So that obviously I think is super promising too for NC State, because again, similar to what we saw on the flip side for them, right? They blow out Georgia, and what does Georgia come out doing? They come out fired up and they take it right to NC State, and hopefully NC State can return the favor tonight. I mean, the bullpen definitely favors NC State. There's no doubt about it. You still have Duden available. You still have Consiglio available. You still have why am I drawing a blank? Smith still available. And you've got your three dudes, no pun intended.
That have been, so it's huge. Completely
fresh. And that's what's nice, is if Whitaker does struggle, you can probably still piece together 9 innings.
Exactly, because you'd expect Duden and Consiglio can each go 3 innings, and then Smith can go 2. So even if you get just 1 inning from Whitaker, you can still piece together 8 more pretty easily.
So, and obviously, I think my favorite thing is I've seen, Whitaker was the only one that didn't get to play, of the guys that were remaining in Omaha, like actually play. So it'd be kind of cool to see him obviously get a chance to will himself into that opportunity. So that's again, and again too, like someone was telling me the Georgia lineup's better than NC State's lineup. Maybe.
I mean,
the top end of the names probably, right? And they've had a lot of. I love I love Trey Phelps. I think he's fantastic. I obviously saw what he could do last weekend in person.
Corey Collins is really good. Alford.
Yeah.
They've
So
got. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's a big gap though.
No, and again, like I think that like
I would say that it's better, but not by much.
Yeah, I bet you if you took like the top 10 guys, I might lean 6 from NC State, 4 from Georgia, but top 5 might, in my opinion, probably favor Georgia with Condon, with Slade Alford. Like, not that AMAC and them aren't as good, right? But just pure dangerous hitters. So obviously Athens is going to be rocking. Monty, I'm not trying to judge a super regional compared to a regional, but I did hear that the atmosphere has been great around Athens. But I still think of the regionals that I've been to / super regionals, the most dead one was Athens of the 3. I mean, Chapel Hill was absolutely electric.
My goodness, I mean, I'm jealous. It's funny when talking about which super regional for you to go to. Ultimately, we settled on UNC for you because it was really convenient. I think part of you really wanted to go to Tallahassee, but with everything that goes with that. But I think ultimately you made the right call. I mean, that Honeycutt home run alone on Friday night probably made it worth it, right?
Yeah, I mean, this might be a perfect transition because I mean, well, I guess before we transition over, Monty, who wins tonight? NC State or Georgia?
I'm going to stick with our Wolfpack. I'm going to believe. I'm going to jump on the train. Until they're out. They're out. I'm going to believe in our NC State Wolfpack to bounce back. And again, what they've done in this series. What's funny is this is the only series that one of only 2 series that went 3 games, and yet it hasn't really been that close of a series, depending on the game. But hopefully today will be either a really close game or NC State blows them out. I'll take either of those 2 results, but would prefer NC State to really pull it out either way.
Yeah, I took NC State to win the regional, so I'll take NC State and just kind of believe in the trends, right? And trust that, again, as long as we don't have a Baltimore Orioles situation in the wild card game where you leave Zach Britton in the bullpen, as long as Avent uses the guys he's got in that bullpen, I like the arms that NC State can bring.
I was worried Kansas State was going to do that for a while because they kept sticking with the starter Wentworth.
And then they in my opinion, they also pulled Neighbors too early too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was interesting because I knew when Kansas State was leading the day. Well, we'll talk about all this. I'm getting too ahead of myself, but yeah, I'm excited about tonight.
Well, let's transition that way then. Let's go. Was that the first team to clinch, Monty, or the second ACC team to clinch? Florida State. Let's go in order. Let's go in order. So Florida State, obviously, first series to wrap up. They take care of business against UConn. I think my favorite thing about this
innings,
12
innings, I believe the clinching game was. Jamie Arnold did not have the start I expected.
No, but I think that's what I liked the most about what I saw was we saw Friday was just pure domination. We saw the best of Florida State, probably the best performance we've seen from from top to bottom lineup, pitching staff, everybody we've seen. And then obviously on the flip side, the next day we see for Jamie Arnold standards, we saw a bad Jamie Arnold.
Yeah, which is a decent start for most, for everybody else.
Correct. But it was not a Jamie Arnold start by any means. We saw not a bad bullpen, but a shaky bullpen, which we've kind of seen all year. But again, we didn't see the best of the bullpen. The lineup was a little slow to get rolling. Then got it rolling. James, honestly, Monty, it was James Tibbs was the offense for a while there.
Yeah,
and then things woke up a little bit, but go ahead.
Oh, it was just unbelievable. Jamie Arnold was. I mean, the other thing is Link managed that like they were eliminated, like they were going to get eliminated if they lost because I would have. I have no idea who they would have turned to on Saturday. Or Sunday, excuse me, had they not held on in extra innings.
Yeah.
Because Whitaker would have been, I think you even mentioned it because I was telling somebody else, but then you mentioned it in a text to me. Like Link is burning Whitaker, another Whitaker, Connor Whitaker, for Sunday's game, who would have been the starter. And the other thing is, I don't know how much length Whitaker would have been able to give them even on Sunday because of the injury he had in the middle of the year.
Yeah. That was that was a crazy decision, I think. But
I
again,
liked it, but
yeah. I mean, you got to go all in to win the game that's in front of you. We'll get to the Clemson Florida series, but I saw that firsthand from Florida's standpoint yesterday. We'll get to what I saw in that one later, but again, from a Florida State standpoint, I was just so impressed because we saw them win in different ways. We saw the pure domination. They don't even have to think about it. Just like, I mean, they were hitting beach balls the whole game. Pitching staff I felt like the pitching staff had a zone like the size of an entire state. What's up, Josh? We're talking about how great your Knowles are. And then, on the flip side, they don't play by any means their best game, and they still get it done against this. I mean, and you could see it. I mean, Monty, I've watched a lot of UConn, right? They threw everything they had at Florida State. And you can say UConn's not that great of a team. That's fine. I mean, obviously the Tennessee team they're going to see in Omaha is better than the UConn team they just saw in the Super Regionals. But the fact that they were able to win that game, all things considered, overall, just very impressive from Florida State. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be excited, and they have a chance to really. I mean, Monty, you feel like Florida State can win it all, right? Because I sure do.
Yeah. I mean, especially when they get that reset for the pitching if they get to the national championship, you get to reset. It's going to be difficult if they end up losing a game, but if they go win in the first two games, which is very possible with Dorsey and Arnold, they're in a very good position to just win one more and get into the national championship, right? But it's going to be a little bit tough for them if they lose either of those first two games and have to come out of the loser's side with the pitching staff.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm assuming we'll probably do a deep dive on Wednesday or Thursday, to go over the actual Omaha matchups. But I like what Florida State might have now. I'm assuming they'll switch to Arnold to be the game one guy.
I would think so, but who knows?
Yeah, you really don't know. But yeah, big tip of the hat. Did you like me to do it literally, Monty, to Florida State on what was a very impressive W there and to a weekend. Now let's get to the regional that you were at, super regional that you were at in Charlottesville. Monty, obviously I am always the pessimistic person. I did deep down inside believe Virginia was going to win that super. I did not believe that they were going to do it the way they did it, though.
The pitching is still showing up. And they made some mistakes that are uncharacteristic. Like, I know it's funny, like the defense.
Monty, I can't see you. The light, the brightness of the light right now is in my face.
The people who made these defensive errors were not the ones who struggled this year defensively.
Yeah.
Which Bobby Whalen is out there right now. He's struggling offensively a little bit. He's out there for his defense at this point, and right off the bat on Friday night, lost
Griff
the ball.
Watches that one ball too, and that's first round draft pick Griff O'Farrell there short.
Yep.
It was. I
was really mad about that one because Didewick should have called off Griff because he actually camped behind Griff for a second, and while Griff had to make this ridiculous play when Diddy could have gotten it. So that really made me mad because I was like, just call him off. I know he's Superman out there at shortstop, but he doesn't have to do it all. Like, you're there first. But also props to Bobby Whalen for going over the wall. Somebody in the press conference asked Oak if he was afraid Bobby wouldn't come back. He's like, well, I was hoping he'd come back. So, but some uncharacteristic mistakes, but ultimately, I mean, very, very well executed baseball on the pitching mound. Jay Wolfuck, not anywhere like his old self, or excuse me, not anywhere like last week. He actually, but like, he didn't crumble like he had in the past. So he didn't have his best stuff, but instead of kind of imploding, he buckled down and grinded through that start.
Do you know what I like the most about this weekend though for UVA, Monty? And I know it's what's the word? Forward thinking now, knowing that they're going to Omaha. Last year, the offense in both regional and super regional play was pretty reliant on the home run ball. You saw a ton from Geloff and from even, Teal.
Anderson, I think, had a bunch.
Yeah, Anderson. You can kind of go. I think Didewick had one.
O'Donnell probably. Yeah, O'Donnell definitely had one because I wrote an article about him competing with his former roommate.
Yeah, you saw so many home runs, right? Where this go around. They didn't even homer in this super. Or Godbout did, right?
Yeah, Godbout homered twice. Well, no, he homered. I mean, he homered once in the Super.
Yeah,
Once
well, that's it. That's the only home runs.
He's the
The
only one that's
whole
hit a home run. Yeah,
postseasons, which we've seen the teams that rely on the home run when they go to Omaha are the ones that struggle the most. Wake Forest last year, right? It was, and Virginia even, right? Virginia offensively had a lot of loud outs last year in Omaha. I mean, ones that you're playing at the dish, you're playing at 90% of ACC ballparks are probably leaving the yard, but because of how the wind blows and the air there and everything else.
Sauke had a home run.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Good call. So, but still, that's a lot less than what they relied on.
It was a solo shot. It's still your point still works. I just wanted to make sure.
And again, like think about what they were doing. They were again aggressive base running from Godbout to score from first base on that. Was it a double from Becker?
It was a double from Becker. Yep.
Yeah.
And then what's crazy is Becker, the game he's having, and Oak sticking to the platoon. He pinch hits Luke Hansen with the bases loaded in the ninth, and Hansen hits a double, bases clearing double down the line. Like,
is it crazy, Monty? Because I know last year's team was so good. Do you feel like the weapons off the bench, though, offensively for Virginia are a little bit better this year, just from a consistency standpoint of if you need a base hit, I feel good about a Becker coming off the bench, a Hansen coming off the bench, a Stefan coming off the bench.
Stefan, especially if you just need somebody on base, because the way he can draw walks and he loves getting hit by pitches. Like in Jacksonville, he got hit by a pitch in an 0-2 count. He got so pumped. I've never seen anyone so excited to get bailed out of a count when you're down 0-2 and he gets hit. He's like, "Yeah, let's go."
Yeah, no, it's so I really like what we saw from Virginia. Just kind of
always here. He doesn't sleep. He's always ready for this.
Darkness, my old friend. But next year, Canes Cat Heat, we'll be talking about Miami and Omaha, right?
Well, Blake Sear just committed to Florida, so I mean, darkness really is here.
I meant to say we'll see Blake Sear in Omaha next year.
Oh man!
But no, I mean it was really cool to just kind of see the way the team battled, and again another big late inning. I think I've also really enjoyed that, Monty. They've the bullpen has not bailed out the offense, right, but done their job, making sure that they have the lead going into late innings, and then the offense is like, okay, it's our turn. And they're also taking advantage of mistakes. I know you can say again, Mississippi State, they folded on themselves in that second game or last game, right? And then Kansas State kind of had a similar situation, not so much as bad of a defensive, meltdown, but it was still a meltdown nonetheless. And Virginia, again, you said Luke Hansen, the bases are loaded with 2 outs. What does he do? And the best part is that wasn't even the last, that was after, again, when they made it 7-4, with 2 outs. So just continuing to do what they need to do. I feel really, really, plus, I mean, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but your opponent going into Omaha. You've seen them, you've seen plenty of them, them. So, they're set up somewhat well, right? To feel pretty good about where they're currently sitting from a standpoint of what to expect while in Omaha.
Yeah, what a way to respond when they were up 5-3 heading to the bottom of the 8th, and the solo shot makes it 5-4, and you're starting to get a little scared.
Thanks,
but then they immediately responded. That was the only run that the bullpen gave up this postseason so far.
Really? I didn't know that. It's almost like Jerry Ratcliffe said he wanted to tweet that right before all of that happened.
But Angelo Tonis, I mean, he gives up one. I have trust in Tonis. So,
me too. I'm a big Angelo. I trust Hungate. I trust Tonis. I trust
Augustine.
I mean, August. Yeah. I mean, he is goodness great. I mean, there's some really great freshman pitchers in our conference, Monty, and I think he needs to be on that list. Yep. I mean, he has grown so much. That's a credit to the staff at Virginia and himself as well, right? You got to give the players some credit as well. His composure too is just off the charts.
Yeah, because he came in that Mississippi State game, or what? Yeah, it was Mississippi State, the first game, and was just lights out. I was stunned when he was the first guy they went. I was like, what? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll never forget you texted me and you're like, this is not happening. And I'm thinking in my head, Monty, like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose this game. And I'm sorry for doubting you. But again, like knowing that lineup, knowing a true freshman in that situation or true first year, right?
Yeah.
We're not sure, but I mean, I hate Monty because you know me. I don't want to be positive about Virginia. I'm not allowed to be happy about Virginia. I'm never
You don't
allowed to be
want
happy.
if you lower you want to keep your expectations low so you can be happy, whereas
Correct.
you're going to be hurt and crushed more than you normally would be if you raise them.
Correct. But I have not. Last year, I did not go into Omaha thinking Virginia was going to win the national title, like that they were legitimately going to be a contender for it. I feel very good about them right now.
I didn't necessarily feel like they were a legitimate contender, but I felt if they won that Florida game, they had a chance. They had a chance to play for it, and the moment they lost that Florida game, I'm like, it's over.
And this is the type of team that I believe if they lost to UNC, I wouldn't even rule them out. Now,
right.
And especially when you factor in, again, some of the teams they're paired with, Florida State with their bullpen situation. Obviously North Carolina's bullpen's about the same as Virginia's in that standpoint. But, yeah, I mean, I can't wait for a 1-0 Virginia-Tennessee game because that's going to be a nice little house divided here for me. But
9 times in 14 years is Florida. Virginia's been there 7 times in 15.
Yeah, I think that's right. All I know is that Florida and Virginia have the active whatever it is. Like there's again, last 5 years the most. Or
also, they're going to be the only ones that have won a national championship before in Omaha.
Oh my goodness, that are going to be there?
And
no, that's not true. That's not true. If Georgia advances, they've won one.
Oh, right, they've claimed one. Okay, I forgot.
Georgia? They actually won one. They were the first SEC team to win a national title. Monty, I will bet you my life savings on it.
I'm not arguing
because it is plastered around that gosh darn ballpark.
Yep, they won it in 18. Sorry, they won it in 1990. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 80, 90. I don't remember what year I said. I knew it was a even number.
1980 is when they won the national championship in football, I believe.
And maybe that's why I mixed them up. But 1990, they were the first SEC, member of the SEC when they won it team to win a national title. That's their claim to fame. So if Georgia advances, which hopefully they don't, then there'll be 3 teams. But you're right. Even though we all know that 2021 national champions are on your head right now. So I'm just kidding. Sorry, Mississippi State fans. You did. I would have just loved to have seen a Mississippi State NC State final. That's all.
I would have loved to have seen Mississippi State not come back against Virginia. Stephen Shock.
Catching a stray. I just bought his really cool hat, Monty, okay? So, and I'm going to be picking it up from him in person.
I know. I saw that. Yeah.
Shout out to Shock for that. But anyways.
Let's move on to
another tip of the hat to the Who's. And then last but not least, super regional that I was at, the Chapel Hill Super Regional. Holy frick, that was fun. I did not expect North Carolina to be that electric. I've been to some top 25 football games at their place. I've even been to a basketball game when they're ranked. I don't think I've experienced an atmosphere at a UNC event like what I experienced on Saturday night.
They're similar to Virginia, I think, where they show up to the ballpark during the regular season, but they don't get rabid until the postseason.
Yeah. I mean, the people that were camping out, shout out to Jordan Falls and his group. They were fantastic. But camping out at 6 a.m. just to get standing room only tickets, students lining up to get their student tickets, folks that I met that set up tents, or not tents, but their foldable chairs out in the outfield at 8 o'clock. The college students that went to the top of the field hockey facility when they opened that up in the morning to claim their spots up there. I mean, and I think what was impressive was West Virginia traveled incredibly well too. I learned a lot about how great that fan base was. It was overall just a really great time. But to counter, I think the person that stood out the most to me, Monty, member of the UNC team, the obvious answer is going to be Vance Huddycott, but I just want to give some flowers to Matt Poston. What a performance on Friday night to do what he did, especially after how his last outing went against Long Island.
Yeah, I want to say he got, I can't remember if he was the one on the mound for the UNC departure in the ACC tournament as well. Cannot remember, but Yeah, I mean, the bullpen for UNC is pretty deep. I mean, Dalton Pence is finally getting the flowers he deserves because he's
Yeah,
been this good all year.
correct. Yeah, Pence was fantastic. Poston was great.
Matthias,
I always call him Mathis, but I know it's not right. Just my brain, when it sees his
well,
name,
yeah,
wants to
yep.
say that.
I always want to say Mathesis or, yeah, it's
Say
Matthias. I get it
it one
close.
more time for me, Monty, so I can say it right.
Matthias.
Matthias. It's like Medea, but Matthias. Yeah, it's
It
not.
doesn't make sense based on how it's spelled, but yes,
Yeah,
that's how it's pronounced
but
apparently.
yeah, obviously he was great. You got a great outing from Shea Sprague. You got a great outing from Ducaro. You know, you just saw the balance of this North Carolina team. But Monty, I don't want to steal too much of the thunder, but I'm sure you watched it, so you saw it too. But I don't think I've ever seen a better performance from one individual player. In like it felt like, you know, you've seen those cartoons, right, where the guy hits the ball to himself, he makes the catch, and then he, you know, is also rounding the bases. Like he's doing everything himself. That was Vance Honeycutt on Saturday. I don't think I've ever seen somebody lead off the game, first pitch, home run. By the way, he has to be like the first person in the history of the sport of baseball, but
To
or at
hit the
least in
last pitch of the
modern
first.
era, that hit the first pitch in the same ballpark. Like you're the home team in one ballpark, you're the road team the next day,
That's
and you
true.
do that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that part. Yeah, that probably
Like,
does make it unique. So I was like, I'm sure someone's done it before, but no, nope. It's a good point with the
I mean,
home
the
and
same
away.
ballpark in less than 24 hours. Like, there's just so many things behind it that's just like Monty. I was already behind because I was talking to our guy Tyler Jennings before the
My
game.
guy, shout out
Yeah,
Tyler.
shout out Tyler. And I was like, I gotta go get my first pitch picture, and I'm running to go get it. And I'm like, oh, I'll just take this picture of the second pitch, and it'll be fine, no big deal. Boom. So I'm like, well, I'll just take a video of the whole concourse going absolutely ballistic because
I
you
was
know
wondering. I was like, hey, that's an interesting
yeah, that's
choice.
not a very Micah-esque video or anything,
That
but
makes sense
it
now. I
worked
saw
out.
that
But
when you did that. I thought I was like, oh,
yeah,
Micah's really enjoying the atmosphere.
yeah. I mean, but it was in between that and then his incredible play to pick off the guy at first on the fly out, which by the way, that was terrible base running by West Virginia, but that's besides the point. Still to have the arm to do that. Later, robs a double late in the game from I think it was King, maybe from West Virginia. That was in the gap. That I mean, 90% of outfielders. That's a bit. I mean, I love Bobby Whalen. That's probably a double, even with Bobby and some of these guys out in center field. And then
And
to
Bobby's very good defensively.
yes, that I mean, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
preface to
I
show
was
you.
just trying to drive it
Yeah,
home. Yep.
yes,
Vance
Bobby
Honeycutt's that
Whalen
good.
is a defensive tool, like asset, like thumbs up, Jag plus or not Jag plus, just a plus defender. But it was to see that, and then obviously to have the wherewithal with 2 outs to basically just, I think it was a slap bunt, whatever it was, just a bunt down the line, beats it out, then comes around. It's like he was both runs in that game on Saturday. I
Yep.
mean, just the ability. Again, he said in the postgame press conference too, like he's such a good teammate. He trusts the guys in front of him, behind him, in the bullpen, and the dugout, and he even credited the fans for some of it, which again he does not have to do, but he was just,
He
I mean, he is just. I'm gonna be the first one to do my apology now, Vance Honeycutt. Not that you needed my opinion, my approval, anything. I doubted you. I wasn't sure that you were what everyone hyped you up to be. I am a firm believer in your game, and I am a huge fan of yours, after, especially what I saw this weekend.
and yeah, the Vance Honeycutt Super Regional and unbelievable performance from him. He's UNC has an illustrious history, like BJ Surhoff, um, Dustin Ackley, I'm Corey Seager. These are names that are big college names. I know some of them didn't necessarily have the best pro careers, but Vance Honeycutt is probably North Carolina's greatest ever player, and they have an illustrious history. Micah, you mentioned every chance we get about that museum, and Vance Honeycutt should probably get his name on that museum at this point. What he's done with the amount of home runs and stolen bases and what he's meant to this program, especially now getting him to Omaha, it's just unbelievable. And he might be the best Tar Heel of all.
I mean, he really might be. I mean, just again, like just the talk about the guys that they've had. I mean, it's just and to see what he did. I mean, that this team, Monty, we're biased, right? Because we're ACC guys, but it really does feel like that left side of the bracket is so much more difficult than the right side of the bracket. With what UNC brings to the table, what Virginia looks like right now, what Tennessee and Florida State have to offer. I mean, it feels like kind of like last year's LSU and Wake Forest side of the bracket, just
even
so good.
And it's interesting because A&M, unfortunately, with some of the injuries they've had happen in the Super Regional, makes them a little less dangerous. Even though
and Kentucky is good, but Kentucky first ever trip to Omaha. We know that Omaha can be a different place to play.
Yep.
And we're talking about Virginia, who's been there. I mean, UNC hasn't been there in a while, but Forbes has been there with the UNC staff, so he knows what to expect.
And they're veteran, and they're a veteran team. I know that you've got DeCaro, but most of the and
Tennessee's been there. Florida State is probably the biggest question mark, but Link Jarrett was there 2 years ago with the Notre Dame team, which, not to insult that Notre Dame team, but this Florida State team is better than that team he brought to Omaha 2 years ago that made some noise. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very insane side of the bracket for sure, Monty.
And it feels like Florida has an avenue, unfortunately, because of the way the bracket's set up. But and I got a lot of heat last night because I tweeted out that Florida did not deserve to be here. I want to be clear what I mean by that. The reason I'm so mad about them getting in is because I knew they were capable of this. They're capable of winning the national championship. But that didn't, to me, deserve they meant to be in. Based on their resume, I still don't think they deserve to be in. However, there's no doubt that they have the talent to do exactly what they're doing, and that's why I'm more mad about it than not.
I mean, right now, Monty, I mean, obviously if NC State wins tonight, I might change my opinion. But yesterday, based off how the results went of the games that were on that side of the bracket, I really do think that Florida might be the favorite on that side of the bracket, just with what they bring to the table. I mean, from a talent standpoint and the ability to.
I know this is an ACC show, but Paul Maneri is going to be the head coach of South Carolina. I don't know.
I mean, that's big for the ACC because that means Pollard's not leaving, McDonald's not leaving. You know.
Yep, and it's Oak's former boss.
Yeah. So it's obviously a big thing. So
just wanted somebody mentioned that to me.
That's an interesting hire.
What a twist.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a great name hire, but there's a reason why I think he retired a couple of years ago. Again, I don't want to speculate much, but it just kind of feels a little weird to me.
Yep. Do you want to talk about the Clemson Florida game before we get into some of the preview?
Yeah. First off, that is the best environment for a baseball game I've ever attended. Clemson fans.
How much is it them just turning up the music?
Ooh. You know, Monty,
I don't want to cause any problems. I bet they have one of the best atmospheres, but
that is fair. That is 100% fair.
Also, why don't other teams do that? Like it works so well.
I don't know. Maybe because these other schools don't have as good a football as Clemson, so they're not used to. I don't know. You think it'd be more used to pumping noise in if you're not good at football, but I will say though, Monty. I mean, just like again, when Cags came up to bat after what happened, all the booing. Like, I mean, it felt like you were at like Yankee Stadium and you were a Yankee that's now a Red Sox. So your dog's gotta love it, Monty, but. You know, your dogs are trying to join in on the hype, but I mean, there really was an atmosphere, in my opinion, behind it. The tailgate scene was incredible.
Oh, there's definitely an atmosphere. I was just, and I think
it's definitely a big part of it, Monty. I'm going to be the first one to say I think it is a big part of it.
But props to them for recognizing how to exploit that.
Correct, and like again, they did a great job too. Again, they didn't see it as much this time around, but like when Coastal was going on a run and Coastal fans started like a CCU chant or something, they conveniently cranked the music to ungodly levels to block that noise out. So like some of it is on that, but again, that is a kudos to what they do in general. But besides the point of that, that was the second best college baseball game I have ever seen in my entire life. Yesterday, obviously, we're talking the one that I was in person for game 2, because that had every emotion possible. A mini bench clearing brawl, multiple ejections, home runs, key strikeouts, incredible defensive plays. Back and forth we went. Great barbecue out in the Cajun Cafe. Shout out to them. I
Did
mean,
you have any
it was
Gator?
just the only thing that was not great was the result.
Did you have any Gator though?
No, the Gator was only on Friday.
Was only it looked so all that seasoning they had on the
So what they told me, Monty, was it was good, but the folks that made it aren't big Gator fans. Like they like in terms of like food, like the flavor of pure Gator.
Oh, so they don't know how to.
I guess I don't know,
Yeah.
but I will say trying to do that with a whole full size Gator is pretty difficult.
Yeah, I imagine so. It would have been easier to. I mean, you want to. You're doing it kind of for the moment, but cutting off the tail would have made it a lot easier just to cover what you're pretty much going to eat.
Correct.
But I love, good Gator is hard to find where I'm from. So
yeah, but I mean, incredible barbecue out there. So I think
you should. I wish I could snap the picture. You're just like looking off into the distance, like I'm waiting for some drool to come out.
Yeah, the Cajun Cafe. I mean, Alex can say what he wants in our little group chat, but you can't trust Cajun food. It's really good food, Alex. Don't be jealous. You don't get to eat that.
Jake knows. Jake knows what the best part of the Gator is.
I mean, yeah,
it's really the only edible part.
I mean, for facts, but yeah, no, it was overall though. I mean, just I mean, I was fortunate, Monty. I got to the way the layout is in Clemson. It's the visiting team dugout, media well, bullpen, and it's all combined. There's just like a little bit of like a step between them, but it's all open. There's no doors, there's no screens, nothing. So I'm hearing conversations from the Florida dugout the whole time, and you can see the live reactions. I think my favorite thing was watching Jack Caglione literally pace back and forth after he left the game from a pitching standpoint.
Oh, I'm familiar with that pace, and I love when pitchers do that. Like, that's what Chuck Gillinson does. That's what I saw.
I mean, he was doing it every half inning. It was insane
because he's playing still. He's still hitting.
Correct. Like there were times he'd be 6 batters behind, and he would be getting his helmet and getting his bat, and just like it was. I mean, that kid is not ACC related. He's maybe my favorite college baseball player I've got to really watch over the last 2 years. Just he's such a competitor, such a nice kid. I got to talk to him a little bit yesterday post game. I mean, just unbelievable. That, by the way, did definitely mess up one of the Florida left fielders at some point yesterday. But
talk to me about Cam Canarella, man.
Oh my gosh! I mean, Monty, did I tell you what I did and why I'm taking 0.0001% of what happened with Cam yesterday?
No, I would have remembered you trying to take credit here. So go ahead.
I had the audacity to tell. Shout out to Harrison. I don't know if you've seen him on our social media, but he's used to work for the ESPN. Now he helps out SEC Unfiltered and a couple other sources too. But we were together in that little media well, and I said to him, Cam is one of the best players I've ever watched, but I feel like I've never seen him really come up clutch in a really big situation. And this was the half inning before he hit the 3-run home run. So sorry, Cam, that I said what I said, but I think that was 0.001% of why the ball left the yard. But the other 99 continue on forever was because Cam Canarella is really, really good at baseball. And he's doing that, by the way, with a shoulder injury.
Yep, that he's had all year round, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
That he's basically had since the South Carolina series, I want to say, or even before that.
Monty, instead of recapping the games, I'm curious to think or see what you think on this thought I kind of crossed my head. Was Clemson the 5th or 6th most talented from top to bottom roster in the conference, but arguably the most competitive or hungry program in the conference? Because how many times did this team look down and out yesterday, all season long, and battle back? And you look at some of their guys. I mean, the bullpen is what it was. Aiden Kanak was good, But let's be real. For being an ace in the ACC, not top 5 pitcher, would you have the audacity to say that? Or is he just on the cusp of top 5?
We'd say Chase Burns,
Jamie
Jamie
Arnold.
Arnold, Jonathan Santucci, Evan Webster might be in that conversation.
I think Blanco might be in that conversation. Gage Zeal.
That was Kane's cat's heat's gonna get pissed.
Get him,
Gage Zeal,
get him,
Gage
gang,
Zeal
get him.
been, yeah.
I mean, even why am I drawing a blank on the pit name? Oh my goodness.
Sokol.
Yeah, even Sokol and even Andrade at some points. Like they're kind of similar in that ballpark. They have ace stuff.
Sam Highfill, who can do what he did against Georgia on Friday or on Saturday.
So he for a team that is highly regarded as Clemson, right? A super regional host team. They didn't have the ace that some of these other teams have.
Yeah, Tristan Smith never quite got back to where he was before his minor injury. I mean, that's the thing with Clemson. I think a lot of injuries hurt them as well.
No, I mean,
Sifo and Taylor. And then
if those guys are in the lineup, they win.
And I thought about the same after he came back from injury.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I think the toughest thing for me to see, Monty, was Hinderleiter, Sifo, and I don't remember who the third guy was, that were just sitting there out in the outfield while Florida's celebrating, just, soaking it kind of all in, didn't want to leave the field of play. And I mean, I really felt for Sifo because, he had to watch his team and he had no ability to make an impact from a on the field standpoint. Right. And, I mean, I'm not going to get emotional, like cry, but it really pains me because, again, I hate seeing that on any side. Like seeing West Virginia was brutal too on Saturday night. But just seeing how much that team constantly overcame. And, when they hit that home run to make it a 10-9 game, Monty, it felt like that might be it. And the crazy part was not that Florida had was not going to show up the next day, like if they were playing today. But Florida knew that they were running out of arms. I mean, they relied on a freshman to make an incredible performance. I'm, of course, drawing the blank on the kid's name. I can picture him. He got hot in the bullpen, threw probably 80 pitches in the bullpen before going in there. But, they threw Neely for 70 some odd pitches. They were doing everything in their power because they were like,
days.
Yeah, they basically had made it very clear they could not afford to play a game 3. They had to win that game. And to see Clemson battle the way they did, again, the 3-run home run by Cam in the top of the 9th. The
Alden Mathis home run before the ejections.
Yeah, before the ejections. The losing one of your best players in Creighton, excuse me, at the second inning.
He's my
for
favorite.
For some lack of better term, shit.
McNeely was the Florida pitcher, by the way.
No, the guy that came in to finish the game.
McNeely.
That was McNeely?
Was that's according to Jake. So
hold on. I have it. Let's check. Oh yeah, Luke McNeely. You're right. I'm just picturing how
I'm not right. Here. Jake's right. Actually, you're right. No, I'm right.
He was fantastic, and it was crazy because it was him and Frank Menendez getting hot. I mean, they went to Menendez first. He either walked or got the first 2 guys reached, and they went to him, and minus the solo bomb, was fantastic. But for this Clemson team, obviously tough way to end the season. It felt like Omaha was staring them right in the face, but I mean, they got paired with 2 last 4 in teams, with obviously Coastal being their regional runner-up, who were more talented in what they were seeded. Like, they got paired with the 2 best last 4 ins.
Yeah, it's unlucky. I mean, and they also got Florida and Tennessee in back-to-back years, which is a tough draw.
You got teams that went to Omaha the year before that have the talent to be Omaha teams again that underperformed in the regular season. Yep. And this time was even worse than last year because you got the underperforming 3 seed.
Yep.
Who had a way more chip on their shoulder because no one thought when Tennessee got thrown into Clemson last year, that was like a, hey,
That's a Jake player. That's one of his Jake Jackrabbit players that he loves to bring up. It's Wallace Clark, Brady Donay, and that's it. Those are his only two.
Yeah, trust me. I had to remind myself when I saw him a couple times. I'm like, he's not in a Tech uniform anymore. He's not in a Tech uniform. I'm just kidding. But it was overall just tough for Clemson. But I mean, I really do believe, Monty, this might be the best thing for this program, because I really do believe that next year they're going to be an Omaha team. Like, we're not throwing out way too early Omaha 8s. I'm putting Clemson in my Omaha 8 when that time comes. I genuinely believe in what this program is doing. Monty, you are correct. Anyone that doubts that playing for Eric, like everyone that's saying that Eric Bakich did the wrong thing yesterday, you had to be there to understand that he did the absolute correct thing, because not only did Eric Bakich get ejected the way he did, but the way the game had gone, it was kind of deserved for him to lose his mind on the umpires to begin with. But when we have a 20-minute delay to discuss whether or not a warning should be issued for a bat flip in a game that's gone on for 5 hours, like, the crowd had gone dead after a home run. The only thing you could hear was that gosh darn siren. And I mean, everyone on TV is like, that was so annoying. Imagine being in the ballpark. I wanted, like, it was, yeah. But
And Jack Leggett got ejected. He got so mad he forgot he retired a decade ago.
if it was Jack Leggett, which I'm assuming it was. That
was.
said what I no. Like, I heard something get said from the Clemson dugout that I will not repeat on this podcast. That I'd have to put the E on and probably a bunch of disclaimers on the screen. But if it was him that said it, first off, kudos to you, sir. But second off, was just so out of pocket, it probably deserved an ejection.
He's not even allowed to hit fungos in practice, is how old he is now, and yet he got ejected. I was laughing because I was like, he retired like a decade ago, right?
Yeah. By the way, I just enjoyed the overall gamesmanship of this too.
Oh, checking Austin
with O'Sullivan asking for a look at the hat
for Austin Gordon.
Yep. That was I mean, I will say he kept going to his hat and he had a little thing on there. So I don't blame him. When you're in the 10th or 11th inning and you're trying to find a way to end the game, that's not a terrible way to do it.
Austin Gordon, how about his performance?
He was fantastic.
Yeah. So it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Doctor enough.
I don't know what that means.
It's like a Mountain Dew meets ginger ale thing that Tennessee is known for. I don't know. It's pretty good. Anyways, yeah. So that wraps up Supers, Monty. I figured we'd just save the previews of the Omaha for Wednesday or Thursday. But is there anything you else want to talk about?
I have a good question from Jake that came in earlier.
Ooh, Jake asked a good question.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm going to say this. Tennessee's the best team in college baseball. In my opinion, they are the best team in college baseball. What?
This is an ACC show.
I don't care.
I can list 14 ACC teams that are better.
I can list 16, Monty, since you're counting Cal and Stanford now.
No, touche.
But that being said, they really do rely a lot on the home run ball. And there are some question marks with their pitching from a standpoint of depth, where if they get into a loser's bracket, question marks. And because they are paired with arguably the best potential number one guy on the starting mound with Florida State's Jamie Arnold,
I think he is the best one remaining right now.
Correct. There's a lot of, especially on that side of the bracket.
Right.
I'll pretend, I'm not going to pretend like I know how great the ace is at Kentucky or A&M. But from that standpoint alone, that doesn't bode well, in my opinion, for me. Plus, again, I do genuinely believe in the curse of the number one overall seed. I really do believe that that is something that just exists. Yeah, I know. And does it not feel like North Carolina and Virginia are kind of like what we saw last year from TCU and from Florida, or excuse me, from LSU and from who was also on their side of the bracket. Even Tennessee, like they're just kind of really good teams that are going to wear you out.
Jake has his Texas A&M homer hat on as usual because he brought up Prager as a sub. But guess what? Texas A&M isn't at home. You dingus.
Yeah, last I checked, this ain't playing in Bluebell Park. Jake.
Yeah. God, this is why he's not
Jake
allowed on the show.
What's he wearing? Khakis.
Yeah.
That Jake joke. But anyways, by the way, you know what? Since you're being a jerk, I'm not going to bring you your cool ACC thing that I pulled out today to make sure I pack it when I leave. But forget it. You don't get it anymore, Jake.
This is the most Jake response I've ever seen. I have no idea what this means.
I don't know either. But but anyways, I'm gonna say Tennessee gets out only because we don't even know if NC State's gonna be there. And
that would, yeah, you're right. NC State has an extra step.
Yeah. So there's that, but also too, just again, like I really do think Kentucky's pretty solid, right? And I again, I'm the first one to say what I saw out of Florida yesterday gave me the type of like I think you said it, Monty, on Twitter. Ole Miss 2022 or 22,
yep,
right?
Yep.
Yeah, 22.
Mississippi State was 21, and then last year was.
Gosh, it's already 2024. Goodness gracious, we're old. Anyways,
speak for yourself. Yeah. I'm 35 today.
Today?
Huh?
You said today?
No, I said I'm 35 as of today.
Oh, I thought you said, tell me, Monty, I did not think today was your birthday, but if so, happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Happy birthday whenever it ends up being your birthday, Monty.
Thank you. I appreciate that too.
But anyways, it's a good question though, Jake. Well done.
Yeah, I was shocked too. He had a good idea. He had a good idea on a meme last week. He has a good question today. I'm not sure who Jake is, but any final thoughts before we get ready? I mean, the lineup for NC State's about to get released. Hopefully, we're about an hour from first pitch. For those of you listening on the podcast tomorrow, sorry, you already know what happens, but we don't. But Micah, you have any final thoughts?
No.
Well, not even a go pack, huh?
Yeah, I mean, fine. I won't say it. But no, I mean, tonight's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a little nerve wracking. Would love a 4v4 matchup tomorrow. It's the summer of Jake. Interesting.
That's horrifying.
That is scary. I don't know if I want to meet Jake in person. I wonder if I can avoid him. I don't think I can if I'm at
I already posted this on Twitter. I asked if there was any way I could avoid meeting Jake.
I think it's gonna be really funny when Jake is or Monty, when you, Jake, and I are all in the same room. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, speaking of which, I have an announcement. I'm going to Omaha.
And you'll be doing our ACC coverage while I'm on.
Yeah, the ACC is going to get covered by me or Micah. I get the early coverage. He's going to take the rest. And hopefully, are you going to go through all the way through?
I'm going to go all the way through is the plan. I mean, I'm not going to lie. If it's like Tennessee versus Kentucky in the national championship, I might be a little bit more tempted to go home. But yeah, that's the plan.
Well, that's all for us. We will be back later this week with an Omaha preview. Hopefully it will be 4v4. If not, we're going to cry and we'll preview our 3.
Yeah, sorry. I'm thinking about the fact the SEC could have 5 teams in Omaha and it makes my stomach sick. So, yeah, go Pack. Oh.